All right, let's get to Eddie Yeranian, our man in the Middle East. Eddie Yeranian, our correspondent in Cairo Live. He's also part of the Voice of America and a senior correspondent with CBS Radio News. Eddie Yeranian, you're here at our roundtable. We're in Richmond, Virginia, and good to have you with us. You were texting me earlier last night that you were still not convinced that the gas attack came from Assad. What's your position on it now, Eddie?
Yes, John. I hate to sound a sour note here, but I think my inclination is to side with truth rather than emotion. And what I saw on the Arab news channels, that video, which everyone saw, obviously, it looked very fishy. It looked like it came out. They were expecting to film people. They picked all the most photogenic young children. And the Syrian foreign minister yesterday said that the alleged attack, airstrike by the Syrian government warplane that dropped whatever got dropped, took place after they had started claiming that there was a chemical attack. So the timing is wrong. Earlier in 2013, the famous gas attack against the Damascus suburb that President Obama backed down on enforcing what he had called his red line against the Syrian regime. We still don't know who did that particular attack. I mean, the Assad government is guilty of many egregious things, but we don't know that he was guilty of this latest gas attack. And the response by the Arab media, especially by Arabiya TV, which is owned by Saudi Arabia, was amazing. How quickly they got the video out and how much thought they put into taking the various angles and pictures of what took place or allegedly took place. So it looked like a media spectacle above all, and I really don't know how many people actually were killed. There was no one on the ground there, and it was a town that was controlled by the Jabhat al-Nusra, according to the Syrian government, and this organization, which allegedly has ties to Al-Qaeda, has no one on the ground there that's reliable in order to say what actually took place.
Okay, Edward, so let me just throw this at you. This was one of the lines that we were talking about in the previous 72 hours, that it made no sense for Assad to launch this attack strategically because he was winning the war. Rex Tillerson had just said that the U.S.'s position had changed. They didn't have a problem with him staying in power. He was going to win this civil war. Everything was going his way. And so our conjecture was that, well, maybe this was launched by ISIS or by the insurgents, the rebels or whatever, in order to turn the tide. But now that we've launched a missile attack, I mean, it's inconceivable, Edward, that we would have done that. The U.S. military would have done that without, beyond a doubt, evidence that Assad was behind it from whatever our intel sources are. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense that even if there was a shred of doubt, I mean, we would have acted in the way that we did. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but that would be saying that either U.S. intel is wrong or that the whole thing is staged so that we can do what? Drop 60 Tomahawk missiles. I mean, it doesn't make any sense now.
It doesn't make any sense to me at all, John. If it were true, Syria, you think, would protest that we bombed them. That we bombed them, hit them with 60 Tomahawks.
Yeah.
You think they'd be saying, hey, we didn't do that.
Instead,
the question is then, okay, who did?
Right.
Who dropped the sarin gas on those people?
Right.
Where's the answer? I mean, you can't just throw these accusations out there and throw this, this conjecture that it might not have been the Syrians without some credible form of evidence to suggest that someone else did it.
Right. See, that's the other thing, Edward. Respond to that. I mean, the Syrian response has been, if they didn't do it, right, you would have thought that it would have been complete outrage. Like, hey, what are you bombing us for? We didn't do anything.
Well, that is what the Syrian foreign minister said yesterday. It just was not covered by the media. He also pointed out that this town is right on the border with Turkey. The Jabhat al-Nusra group is supported by Turkey. There are about 8 different intelligence agencies operating on the ground, and the ones that we collaborate with would like to see us make this missile strike. So they have every reason to give us this information, which undoubtedly would be the intel information that we're using, and it may very well not be correct.
Okay, so what has been, you said the Syrian foreign minister made a statement last night that you're right, that's not been covered. I haven't even seen that. So over there in the Middle East on your channels, what did he say? And what's been the official Syrian position that hasn't made its way out to the United States?
Well, the Syrian foreign minister indicated that the airplane which bombed, or planes which bombed that town on the near the Turkish border, launched their strikes at 11:30 in the morning, whereas they were crying that there was a gas attack at 9 in the morning. So I couldn't confirm those time differentials because I don't remember what time Al Arabiya TV started coming out with the video in the morning a few days ago. But the Syrian government is basically saying that they're being hoisted on a petard and they're not responsible. Now, of course, you can't necessarily believe everything they say from all their past record, but I don't think we can believe some of the intel information we've got either, because these intelligence agencies are supporting the rebels. They're supporting the side which the Assad government is fighting. They have every reason to put out intel to the effect that the government did this.
The foreign minister of Syrian dismissed calls for an international investigation by saying that this whole thing is politicized. So they did make a statement, but it took us 5 minutes to find it on the internet, so it's not out there, Andrew.
Well, he did, and what he's saying is, we didn't do this, but I don't want an investigation. Please don't look into this because we don't typically like how investigations go for us.
Right.
So what does that tell you?
Let's go to the other point. Who has the ability to make sarin gas, and who has made sarin gas in the past? Assad. Yes, technical ability to do it. The U.S. could certainly make it. Russia could certainly make it. We burned up and destroyed all of our sarin gas supplies. But, it's not something that a bunch of guys cook up in a chem lab at a high school.
So you're saying ISIS didn't have the capability?
Well, if they did, they'd have used it on us. Let's be realistic. They would have used it on us.
They'd rather.
Would they use it in this little village in Syria? I mean, this was a very limited.
I mean, that's why. But that's why, to Edward's point again, for Assad, this made no sense.
Right.
It made no sense.
Okay.
Why would he do it? Other than
There's a lot of unanswered questions here.
Right.
And this is where you have to sort of just step back and go, okay, our intelligence agencies should know what planes were flying where in Syria and from where they came. We didn't hit this airfield because it was not the base.
I mean, you
of the
got to
operation.
figure there was intel there, and also what leaked out was that I guess the way the chemical weapons were dropped, it was a single wing plane or something. Whatever it's saying is the only
fixed wing plane.
A fixed wing.
I don't think single wing is going to work.
I mean, what I say, single wing, fixed wing plane. I'm sorry, Chris. Michael, do you have a question for Edward? You can go public radio to public radio.
Well, I tell you what, I was really taken by what we heard the Secretary of State say at the top of the hour. So about an hour ago during the news break, he was asked by a journalist whether or not he was working to put together a coalition of, an international coalition to take out Assad. And the Secretary of State said, basically, we're working on that. We're in the process of doing that. What do we think about the possibility of the U.S. joining an international coalition to take out Assad?
Edward, what's the Egyptian's government position on that?
The Egyptian government is actually supporting Assad, albeit very discreetly, and they've incurred the wrath of Saudi Arabia, which is not supporting Assad for this position. That being said, there are a lot of people that would like to see Assad remain in power, several regimes here in the Middle East, for the simple reason that they believe he brings stability to the area, and that any other government is just going to create more chaos, as we see in Libya, Iraq, and Yemen.
Okay, so let's get to Michael Pope's question, which is, do you see the U.S. fomenting this international coalition, if you will? Because as soon as I hear that, it reminds me of George H. Bush, Iraq, one international coalition, troops, bombs, shock and awe.
It sounds a whole lot more neocon than we heard during the campaign.
Damn right it does, and that's what makes me nervous, right?
Well, it's also an attempt at international validity. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, people don't want in the United States and around the world the United States acting preemptively on it unilaterally. And while we did this unilaterally, it wasn't without the knowledge, at least clearly, of the Chinese and the Russians. Whether we told our European allies, I don't know. But we also, the administration did let congressional leaders know. So there is a need to do this more in the lines with international norms. And I think that's what they're trying to project.
So the question becomes, if this was and Chris Saxman, you forwarded this opinion earlier. This was a message. This was Assad did this with the Russians' concurrence to test Trump. Trump reacted. And so if this is where it ends, then I think I can certainly buy into this.
Well, not necessarily.
My fear is what Michael Pope just said, is he got Tillerson now talking about an international coalition in order to remove Assad from power, which means we get involved in another war, and then we take him out of power, and then what? Then we're Libya, Iraq. I mean, it's back to the same thing.
Well,
which is what Trump campaigned in opposition to.
But you also have to understand what if that were the case, if Putin and Assad were sort of baiting us to see how we would react, how Trump would react. Why? Why would we be doing that? If they are, in fact, winning the war against ISIS in Syria, what is Putin's larger play? He's in a significant fiscal problem in his own country. This is going to increase prices on what? Oil. This helps his budget. This helps his income. This helps his revenue and his economy. There's always a bigger play at this. This isn't for giggles.
You've been talking to John McCain again, haven't you?
He doesn't return calls like he used to. No,
that would be a great segment for Alex Jones and InfoWars. Come on, so we did a gas tax so that the oil prices can go up.
No. Look, no. I don't think he did it to make that happen. There's always as Boyd knows in politics, it's always far more complex than it's being portrayed. There's always a bigger game that's being played. There's a reason why they did this in the first place. It wasn't just to say, hey, let's see what Trump does, tee-hee-hee. It's a bigger geopolitical play. I mean, look, this is a country that blew an airliner out of the skies over Ukraine.
Yes,
what do we do?
Nothing.
Not a damn thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'll grant you that. Okay, Eddie Yeranian, I got a minute, sir. You got the final word.
Yes, John, I think that I worry that the end game here is that we're just going to prolong a conflict that's gone on too long already. It's gone on for 6.5 years. And by doing this, basically, we're just tipping the balance in the other way against Assad after it's been going his way. And then the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, and Assad's Iraqi friends are all going to come in and tip it back the other way. And by that point, we're going to have at least 3/4 of Syria destroyed, if we don't already have half of the country destroyed. And I question most of the assumptions we've made here. That military base that was attacked by President Trump is on the road to Palmyra, between Homs and Palmyra. That's where an Israeli plane struck a Hezbollah alleged weapons shipment. And there may be something else hidden behind here that we don't know about a message being sent to the Iranians and to Syria because the Israelis already attacked the same place.
Edward, always appreciate your insight. Thank you so much.